It was 2:14 a.m. in Los Angeles, and the city was bleeding neon. Rain slicked the streets, washing color from the billboards and sign from the sidewalks. Steam curled up from sewer grates, and the air smelled like gasoline fear. And jasmine from the corner flower stalls that never closed. In a tiny ramen shop on East First Street, a girl with shaking knees was counting breaths. Mina Tanaka had been working there for 3 months. A face in the late-night crowd, quiet, efficient, invisible. She took orders without looking customers in the eyes. Smiled when she needed to, bowed when she didn't. But tonight, she couldn't hide because the man who had walked into her life, the man sitting in the far booth with 2 bodyguards and a look that bent the air around him, was the one everyone in this part of the city feared. Alejandro Cruz. The cartel lord who controlled everything from the ports to the judges, the man who could make someone disappear without leaving his chair, and he was looking straight at her. Her hands trembled as she set a bowl of ramen on his table. The steam rose between them, curling like ghosts. He watched her with unnerving calm, eyes dark, expression unreadable. "You're new here," he said in flawless English, his voice low, smooth, dangerous. "I started a few months ago." He leaned back, the faintest hint of a smile ghosting his lips. "You don't sound local." "I'm not." "Tokyo?" "Osaka. Big difference?" She hesitated. "Only if you care about where people come from." He studied her face, the way she stood too straight, the way her hands shook just enough to betray her fear. "And you care about where people go?" She didn't answer. He smiled faintly. "I do." When he left, he placed no money on the table, just a black business card. No name, no number. Only an embossed symbol. A single crimson crane, spreading its wings. Mina's breath caught. She knew that mark. Everyone did. The Cruz Cartel. That night, she couldn't sleep. Not because of what he'd said, but because of what he hadn't. He hadn't asked her name. He hadn't needed to. And that terrified her. Because if Alejandro Cruz had come to her shop, it wasn't for food. It was for her. The next day, she took the bus to work as usual. Rain again. Always rain. But when she arrived, the shop was closed. The owner, Mr. Watanabe, a kind man who never spoke louder than a whisper, was gone. The front window had been shattered. Police tape fluttered in the wind. She stood there, frozen, the world spinning too fast around her. A man approached from the alley. Tall, expensive suit, sunglasses despite the gray sky. "Mina Tanaka?" he asked. Her voice barely came out. "Who are you?" He smiled thinly. "Someone who works for the man who paid your rent last month." Her stomach dropped. "What? You should be careful what you sign, Miss Tanaka." He pulled out a folded paper. Edges damp from the rain. Her lease, the signature was hers, but the landlord's had been replaced. By a Cruz. She stepped back, her voice trembling. "Why would he? To keep you safe," the man said. "For now, I don't need his protection." He tilted his head. "Then you'll need his permission." Her knees went weak. "For what?" "To keep breathing." That night, the city felt smaller. The walls closer. The air thinner. She went back to her apartment in Boyle Heights, shut the blinds, locked the door twice, and stared at the rain-smeared window. Her reflection looked like a stranger, girl with trembling hands and eyes too old for her face. She whispered to the empty room, "Why me?" No answer. Just thunder. Then a knock. 3 times. Slow, deliberate. Her heart froze. She opened the door only an inch. Alejandro Cruz stood there. Rain running down his coat, his eyes like smoke and winter. Double quotes, "Mr. Cruz," she breathed. He smiled faintly. "You should stop saying my name like it's a sin." "What do you want?" "Answers, then ask the police." "I did." Her pulse jumped. "And?" "They said your boss disappeared after wiring $10,000 to a charity that doesn't exist." She gripped the door tighter. "You think I had something to do with that?" "I think you know something you shouldn't. And if I don't?" He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Then you're about to learn what it feels like to be protected by the man everyone fears." Her knees trembled. "I don't want your protection." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No one ever does at first. He turned to leave, rain trailing from his coat. But at the bottom of the stairwell, he stopped, without looking back. He said, "I'll see you tomorrow, Mina." She whispered, "Don't." His answer came like a promise. "I always do." That night, she dreamt of cranes, their wings painted red, their shadows moving across the city like storms. And when she woke, she realized something she hadn't before. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of what he would make her become to stay alive. The days that followed blurred together. Rain, neon, whispers. Los Angeles moved fast, but Mina Tanaka had learned to move faster. She quit the ramen shop, sold her phone, paid cash for a cheap prepaid one. Every night she changed routes, switched buses, changed coats, learned which streets had working cameras and which didn't. It didn't matter. He still found her. Sometimes it was a black car parked a little too long outside the laundromat. Sometimes it was a flower left at her door, a single red crane folded from money. No message. No threat, just a reminder. Alejandro Cruz didn't chase people. He waited for them to realize they had nowhere else to run. By the third week, the fear had shifted. It wasn't the panic that made her knees shake and her breath break. It was something colder, quieter. The awareness that she'd already stepped into a game whose rules she didn't understand. And worse, she was starting to get curious. Who was he really? Why her? Every part of her screamed not to look for answers. But curiosity, she'd learned, was just another kind of defiance. The next time she saw him was on a Tuesday night at the pier. She'd taken a job cleaning at an aquarium, the kind of work no one asked questions about. She thought the ocean might help her sleep. It didn't single quotes T. When she came out the back door after her shift. The fog had swallowed everything. The pier lights glowed faintly in the mist, turning the air white and strange. And then she heard footsteps. Slow, unhurried. Her heart stuttered. "Mina," a voice said softly. She turned. Alejandro Cruz stepped from the fog, hands in his coat pockets, eyes steady and dark. "Are you following me?" she asked, her voice shaking despite herself. "I told you I'd see you again. I didn't believe you. You should start." He stepped closer, stopping just out of reach. "You don't belong here." "Why?" "Because I'm not part of your world." He smiled faintly. "You say that like it's something you can choose." "I already chose." He tilted his head. "And yet you're still in my city. I'm not in your city." He took another step, his presence heavy enough to make her pulse skip. "Everything from the port to the hills belongs to me. Even this pier. Even the air you're breathing right now." Her throat tightened. "Then what do you want from me?" He looked at her, eyes unreadable. "The truth. I don't have one. Everyone has one." She glared at him. "And what's yours?" He smiled, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. "That I kill monsters for a living and I still can't sleep." He handed her something, a small envelope. "You'll take this." "I won't." "You will." "What's in it?" "Answers." "To what?" He stepped closer until she could smell the rain on his coat. "To why you're still alive." Her breath caught. "You think I owe you?" "I know you do." She looked down at the envelope, then back at him. "You think you control everything." His gaze softened just slightly. "No, I just make sure the things I can't control learn to fear me. And what if I don't?" His smile was small, dangerous. "Then you're not afraid enough yet." He turned to go, but she called out, "Why me?" He stopped. "Because you don't act like you belong to anyone. And in my world, that's either bravery or a suicide." Then he disappeared into the fog. Mina didn't open the envelope until dawn. Inside were photos. Her walking to work, leaving her building, sitting by the bus stop, head bowed. Every photo dated, every route she'd taken, but one stopped her cold. A picture of her from 2 years ago. Back in Tokyo. Her breath faltered. The street, the dress, even the scar on her wrist, all captured in the exact moment she thought she'd escaped her past. She flipped the photo over. On the back, written in his sharp, clean handwriting, "I know what you ran from. And I know who's still looking for you." That night, she went to his mansion in the hills. The guards recognized her instantly. No questions. No hesitation. The doors opened like they'd been waiting. He was in the study, pouring whiskey. City lights bleeding gold behind him. You came, he said. You left me no choice. There's always a choice. Then why do I feel like I've already made mine? He smiled faintly. Because you have. She threw the photo on the table. How long have you been watching me? Long enough to know you're not who you say you are. Her voice cracked. Who am I then? His eyes lifted to hers, calm but burning. You're the daughter of the man who betrayed my father. She went still. That's not possible. Oh, it is, he said softly. And now the only question left, Mina Tanaka, is whether you ran to me to hide or to finish what he started. The silence between them felt like a loaded gun. She whispered, You think I came here to hurt you? He stepped closer, voice low. No, I think you came here to save yourself. I just haven't decided if that means saving me too. Her knees trembled again, not from fear this time, but from something far more dangerous, because she finally understood what terrified her most about Alejandro Cruz. Not that he controlled everything, but that, somehow, he already controlled her. The rain didn't stop that night. It clung to the hills above Los Angeles like regret, washing away the thin line between truth and lies inside the mansion. Thunder rolled low against the glass. The lights were dim, the air thick with silence. Mina Tanaka stood in front of Alejandro Cruz, shaking, not from fear this time, but from the weight of what he'd just said. You're lying, she whispered. He didn't blink. No, I'm giving you what no one else would, the truth. My father died years ago, in Osaka, heart attack. Alejandro's voice stayed calm, steady. Your father faked that death. He worked for my father long before you were born, moved money, buried names, erased witnesses. And when he stole 10 million from our accounts and vanished, he took something more valuable than the money. Her breath caught. What? A list. Of what? Everyone who's ever bought, sold, or bled for this organization. She shook her head, stepping back. You're insane. He moved closer, his shadow swallowing hers. And yet, you're standing in my house, holding photos that no one but my men could have taken. Her voice broke. I didn't ask for this. No, he said softly. But your blood did. The storm outside grew louder. Lightning flashed across his face, that calm mask cracking for just a second, revealing something raw beneath it. She whispered, Why tell me this now? Because the people who want that list are already in the city. And they think you have it. I don't. He smiled faintly. Then we have a problem. He poured whiskey into 2 glasses, slid one toward her. Drink, you'll need it. I don't drink. You will. She ignored the glass. You think my father left something with me? He leaned against the desk. Not with you. In you. Her stomach dropped. What does that mean? Before he disappeared, he encrypted the list into a series of codes, genetic sequences tied to a medical trial registered under your mother's name. You're the only surviving link. That's impossible. He smiled without warmth. That's what impossible looks like when money builds it. Mina's knees weakened. So what do you want from me? He looked at her, eyes softening just enough to hurt. To keep you alive long enough to find out if you're the reason I lose everything. He turned to leave, but she stepped forward, her voice trembling. You could have killed me. I could have, he said quietly. But I don't kill people who remind me of myself. She frowned. You think I'm like you? No, he said. I think you're what I used to be, before I learned that mercy costs more than bullets. That night, he didn't send her away. He had a room prepared for her on the top floor, walls of glass, overlooking the city below. But she couldn't sleep. The storm had faded to drizzle, but her thoughts screamed. She walked to the window, her reflection blurred in the glass. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Somewhere closer, the faint hum of voices, his men speaking in Spanish, scanning the perimeter. She whispered to herself, You're not him. You're not your father. But a quieter voice, the one she'd tried to silence for years, asked, What if you are? At 3 a.m., she went downstairs. Alejandro was still awake. He sat in the study, cigarette smoke curling around him, shirt half unbuttoned, a pistol lying casually on the table beside the glass of untouched whiskey. He didn't look up when she entered. Couldn't sleep? Could you? He exhaled smoke. I don't deserve to. She hesitated. You said my father betrayed yours. He nodded. How did your father die? He looked at her for a long time. He didn't. I killed him. Her breath caught. You! He leaned back, eyes distant. He ordered a massacre. Children, I told him we didn't do that. He said I was weak. And you shot him? Yes. She stared at him, the weight of it pressing down between them. So this is what power does to people. He smiled bitterly. No, this is what love does when it doesn't know where to go. She sat down across from him, the table between them feeling like a border neither could cross. You hate your father, she said. He nodded. Every day. Then why build what he started? Because someone has to. No, she whispered. Someone has to end it. He studied her face, her fire, her fear, her defiance. You think you can? She met his eyes. You think I can't? He smiled faintly. You remind me too much of what I lost. What was that? My soul. He leaned forward, his voice lower now, almost tender. You don't understand what it means to be part of this world, Mina. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't forgive bloodlines. And it doesn't let you leave clean. Then teach me, she said. He froze. What? Teach me how to survive it. He shook his head. No, that's not what I want for you. You don't get to want for me. Her words cut through the quiet like a blade. He looked at her, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. You think I'm weak. You think I'm breakable. But I'm still here. He stood slowly, walked around the desk until he was standing in front of her. Close enough that she could feel his breath. Then prove it. He whispered. She lifted her chin. How? He reached out, brushed a lock of hair from her face, his touch almost reverent. Don't flinch. Her pulse roared in her ears. She didn't. For a long moment they just stood there. Silence, tension, rain against glass. Then he said quietly, Maybe I was wrong about you. You were. He smiled faintly. That's what scares me. Before dawn he left. A note waited on her bedside table. Just 3 words in his handwriting. Do not run. And on the floor beside it, a single origami crane, folded from black paper. Its wings tipped red. She stared at it for a long time, heart racing, hands trembling. Because for the first time, she wasn't sure if she was his prisoner or his partner in something far more dangerous, and deep down, she already knew. The secret her father left behind wasn't the only one worth killing for. Morning broke. Over Los Angeles like a bruise, gold light bleeding through gray clouds, soft but full of warning. The city stretched awake, pretending not to feel the weight of what pulsed beneath it. Deals, debts, blood, silence. Mina Tanaka stood at the balcony of her borrowed room in Alejandro Cruz's mansion, her hands gripping the railing until her knuckles turned white. The words he had written still burned in her mind. Do not run. She wanted to believe it was protection, but she knew better. It was command. It was a cage made of ink and care. And yet, she hadn't run. By noon. The quiet broke. 2 black SUVs pulled up to the front gate, engines idling low. Men stepped out, suits, clean shoes, the kind that didn't belong to Alejandro's world, the kind that belonged to hers. When she saw the crest on the plates, a stylized kanji painted silver, her blood froze. Tanaka Group, her father's old company. And the man stepping from the car wasn't a stranger. It was Hideo Sato, her father's former lieutenant, the man who'd sworn he'd find her no matter where she hid. Double quotes Mina. He called, voice smooth as glass. It's time to come home. Before she could move, Alejandro was beside her. He hadn't even made a sound. He never did. They found you faster than I expected, he said quietly. What do they want? He looked at her, eyes cold. You! For what? To finish your father's work. She shook her head. I don't know what that means. He stepped closer. You will. Then he took her hand. Stay behind me. They met Hideo in the courtyard. The air was sharp with tension, the kind that comes before bullets. Alejandro's guards fanned out, silent, precise, hands on their weapons. Hideo smiled faintly when he saw him. Senator Cruz, I was told you were smarter than this. Alejandro's voice was calm. And I was told your people were better at keeping secrets. Hideo's gaze shifted to Mina. You've caused a great deal of trouble, Masum. She straightened. I stopped being your daughter when my father stopped being a man. Hideo chuckled. You have his mouth. I have his scars. His smile vanished. You're coming with us. She's not. Alejandro said softly. This isn't your concern, Senator Cruz. It became my concern the night your men started killing in my city. And what happens when she remembers who she really is? Alejandro's eyes didn't move. Then she tell me before she tells you.
The standoff lasted seconds that felt like eternity. Then a sound like thunder. Gunfire. Hideo's men moved first. Alejandro's responded faster. The courtyard erupted. Flashes of light, echoes against the marble, the sharp metallic smell of war. Alejandro pulled Mina down behind a stone wall, covering her with his body as bullets tore through the air. Stay low, he hissed. She trembled against him. You'll die for me. He glanced at her. Rain and gunfire reflected in his eyes. Maybe that's the point. The fight was over as quickly as it began. Bodies lay still on the wet ground. The air smelled of cordite and blood. Hideo was gone, vanished into the storm like a ghost who knew when to retreat. Mina stood, shaking, her ears ringing. Alejandro was bleeding. A line of red down his arm, staining his sleeve. She rushed to him. You're hurt. He brushed it off. It's nothing. She caught his wrist. Don't lie to me. He looked at her, really looked. And for the first time his voice cracked. You shouldn't care. She swallowed hard. But I do. He turned away, breathing hard. You don't understand, Mina. Men like me don't get to be saved. Then stop pretending you don't want to be. He froze. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. You say I'm my father's daughter, maybe I am. But if I'm a mirror of what he built, then maybe you are too. Maybe we're both just trying to undo what they made us. He turned slowly, his eyes darker than she'd ever seen them. You think you can fix me? No, she whispered. But I can see you. He moved closer until there was barely a breath between them. Then tell me what you see. I see a man who kills to survive, not because he wants to. A man who's forgotten what mercy feels like. A man who's so afraid of being human. He hides behind power. He exhaled slow. And you still stand there. Yes. Why? Because I know what it's like to hide behind fear. The storm broke again, thunder cracking open the sky. He reached out, his fingers trembling as they brushed her jaw. You don't know what I'll become if you stay. She met his gaze. Then let me find out. He kissed her. Not soft, not kind. It was the kind of kiss that felt like surrender disguised as war. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. This isn't your world, he murmured. Then show me how to survive it. He smiled just barely. You already are. Hours later, when the house had gone quiet again, he stood alone in the study, blood still drying on his sleeve. Mateo entered silently. They'll come back, you know. I know. What will you do with her? Alejandro stared out at the rain. The truth is coming for her, whether she wants it or not. And when it does, his jaw tightened. Then she'll have to decide who she's going to be. My enemy or my reason. Upstairs, Mina sat by the window, watching the storm fade over the city. The cranes, the red ones he sent her, were still on her desk. Dozens of them now. Silent witnesses. She picked one up, unfolding it carefully. Inside the paper, faint ink marks she hadn't seen before formed a pattern. Numbers. Coordinates. Her heart raced. She looked out at the city lights, a map burning beneath the storm. The list her father left behind wasn't lost. It was hidden in plain sight. And she realized, with a chill that reached her bones, Alejandro Cruz had known all along. By the time the storm cleared, Los Angeles was breathing again. Humid, bruised, trembling in the aftermath of everything it refused to remember. From her room high in the hills, Mina Tanaka watched the sunrise smear pale gold over the skyline. Should have felt like peace. Didn't. 'Cause she now knew everything. The coordinates she had found, hidden in the folds of those crimson cranes, led to the truth her father had buried, the secret every man had died to protect. A vault beneath the old shipyards. A list carved in code. Names, numbers, power. And one more thing she hadn't expected. Her own. She was never just the daughter of a traitor. She was the contingency, the final failsafe. If her father's empire fell, her DNA, her blood, would unlock every encrypted account he'd hidden across the world. Her entire life had been designed as a key. The weight of that truth settled deep in her chest as she walked into Alejandro Cruz's study. He was waiting for her. Shirt sleeves rolled, tie loose, gun on the table beside his coffee. He didn't look surprised. He never did. "You found it," he said. "I think you wanted me to." He smirked faintly. "I wanted you to be ready." "For what?" "To replace you." He tilted his head. "To outlive me." She placed the folded crane on the table. "You knew what my father did. You knew what I was." "Yes. And you used me." "No," he said softly. "I protected you. You just didn't like how it looked." She glared at him. "You're not protecting me now. You're keeping me contained, like a weapon you haven't decided whether to use." His voice hardened. "I'm keeping you alive." "For what?" "For choice." She frowned. "Choice?" He stood, closing the distance between them until the air between their bodies turned electric. "You can give that list to them," he said. "To the men who'll burn the world just to wear its ashes. Or you can destroy it, end what your father started, end what mine built, end everything that keeps us alive." "And what happens to you if I do?" He smiled, slow, resigned. "Then I finally get to stop being a god in a city that forgot heaven." They stood in silence, thunder echoing faintly somewhere far beyond the hills. Mina could see it now. The exhaustion behind his control, the hunger behind his calm. "You built an empire," she whispered. "Why destroy it?" "Because it's already dying. Every empire does. The only question is whether we die with it." She searched his eyes. "And what do you want me to do?" He reached out, touched her chin lightly, his hand trembling just enough to betray him. "I want you to live," he said. "Without me. Without this. Without fear." Her breath caught. "You think that's possible?" "I think it has to be." That night, they drove to the docks together. No guards. No convoy. Just them. The sea was black glass under the moon, waves breaking against the rusted hulls of forgotten ships. Beneath one of them, the coordinates from the cranes, an underground vault waited. Mina entered first. The air smelled of salt and dust. Rows of servers blinked in the dark, the hum of hidden data pulsing like a heartbeat. She placed her hand on the biometric pad. It glowed faint blue, scanning her skin. A screen flickered to life. Lines of code. Transactions. Decades of corruption. Governments, cartels, corporations, all tied together by one legacy. Her father's. Alejandro's. Hers. Alejandro stood behind her. "Now you see why it can't exist." She turned to him. "You could own the world with this." "I already do," he said quietly. "And it's killing me." "You want me to delete it?" "Yes." "Why me?" "Because only you can." She looked at him, really looked. "If I do this, we both disappear." He nodded. "That's the point." Her finger hovered over the command. One tap, and everything would burn. Every account, every name, every empire. One tap, and she'd end not just him, but everything he'd built to survive. Her throat tightened. "What happens after?" He smiled faintly. "Maybe we finally stop running." She looked at the screen, then at him. "Come with me." He hesitated. "Mina." "Come with me," she said again. "You don't have to die for what they made you. You can choose something else." He exhaled slow. "I don't know how." "Then let me show you." He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the man who ruled half the city was gone. All that was left was a man who finally wanted to be free. He nodded once. "Do it." Mina pressed the key. The system screamed, alarms echoing through the vault as every file erased itself line by line. Code turned to static. Static turned to silence. And then it was over. The empire was gone. She turned to him. He was smiling. Not the smile of a man who'd won. The smile of one who'd finally let go. "Now what?" she whispered. He reached for her hand. "Now we live in the ruins." Months later, in a coastal town north of the border, no one called her Mina Tanaka. She was just Emmy, a woman who worked at a small bookstore by the sea. Sometimes, a tall man would pick her up after closing. He wore no suits now, just rolled sleeves and sunburnt skin, the ghost of old scars fading under new sunlight. When they walked by the shore, he'd tease her for still counting breaths when the waves came too close. And she'd laugh, the sound carrying over the ocean, soft, alive, forgiven. One evening, as the sky turned pink, he said, "Do you ever miss it?" "The city?" she asked. "The power?" She smiled. "No. But sometimes I miss the rain." He nodded, looking out at the water. "Rain reminds us of who we were." She took his hand. "And the sun reminds us who we can still be." When the tide came in, they stood ankle-deep in the surf, quiet. He whispered, "You saved me." She shook her head. "No, Alejandro. You let me." He smiled, closing his eyes, the wind moving through his hair. And in that small, perfect moment between the waves and the horizon, the girl who once trembled before a god and the man who once ruled through fear simply existed. Two survivors, reborn from ruin. Because sometimes redemption doesn't come with fire or bullets. Sometimes it arrives softly, in the shape of a hand that doesn't let go. Then,